welcome back to Cumberland County.
Thank you, Mr. Staff.
My first question is number one, and describe all experience you've had in public education and how such experience has specifically prepared you for the job of Director of Schools.
I have 26 years of experience in public education, and I have 4 years in higher ed. As a public educator, I was a teacher, an RTI coach, a principal, and in the higher ed realm, I've been an assistant professor, and now I'm the dean of the School of Education. Each of these positions have given me the ability to learn how to manage people, manage a classroom, manage staff. It's also given me the opportunity to understand curriculum and to get into that curriculum. I've been able to analyze data in all these positions to understand what's best for our students or what's best for our teaching candidates at this level. I have also had the opportunity to work with the community and be out in the public and promote Cumberland County schools or to promote South College. All these positions have also given me the opportunity to work with budgets, to work with partnering districts, to be involved in that process with them. So I feel like I have a very well-rounded opportunity, or have been given opportunities to do what I love to do, and that's to work in the education field.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Parrish?
Hi, Ms. Shirley.
Hi. My question is question number 2. What are the most important characteristics a director of schools should possess?
I think first and foremost, Ms. Shirley, is that a director needs to be one who can communicate, not only to the public, but to the teachers, to our staff. We have to be that person that communicates the concerns of the district to the board and the concerns of the board to the district. I truly feel that a director also needs to be a motivator. I can stand and bark orders all day long. We're not in the military. We all have something important to say and something to feel. And I truly feel like that I need to be that person that cheerleads for the teachers, cheerleads for the students, cheerleads for our non-certified staff. But I also need to be one that rolls up my sleeves and walks in that path with them. I feel like a director needs to have honesty and integrity. That's most important, because I can't do this job if I'm not doing it honestly. Lastly is empathy. We have so many students and so many teachers that go through so much every year that we do not realize. We have to be empathetic to some of those situations.
Thank you.
Ms. Hale?
Thank you for coming today.
Thank you, Ms.
My first question is question number 8. How would you develop and maintain a high morale among district employees?
Morale is key to motivating people. One of the first things that I have always done as I entered my principalships at any school is I sent out a needs assessment, asking those teachers and that staff, what's great about this school? What needs to be improved? Where do we need to go? What direction would you like to see us move forward? I feel like that provides them with some input into the decision-making process. I also feel that it's very important that all of our employees feel valued. I think that we need to ensure that they feel appreciated. And there's various ways we can do that. It's a key, I would like to establish, I guess you could say, advisory boards in which district staff can have input in the decision-making process, or have the ability to come and open and tell me, hey, this is what we're needing. Incentives are great, little incentives, little thank you notes throughout the year. I think I used to use a book with my staff called Bucket Fillers. And I think if we created Bucket Fillers Award a month, would be a great way for people to nominate, not just me, but students, to nominate those teachers that are that are out there.
Thank you.
Okay, my first question is number 4. Describe your goals for education in Cumberland County.
So I have 3, and I looked at the state report card, but I've worked in this district, so I know what we need to have. One is student achievement and student growth. I feel like we need to ensure that we are providing our teachers with high quality instructional materials and that we are providing our students with effective teachers. And as a director and as a board, we have to work together to do that. The next goal is I want us to create a student-centered culture. Everything we do should be based around the students. Are we meeting their needs? What are we doing to address social emotional issues? What are we doing to address bullying? We need to make sure we have that culture. Are we providing the correct materials for our students to utilize in the classroom? Do our teachers have the necessary supplies? So we need to make sure that when we're looking at funding and looking at curriculum, that it is student-centered. Third, and this comes from the dean job in me, is to increase post-secondary interest rates into post-secondary institutions. I think Cumberland County is sitting at about 53%. Students have way too many opportunities to enter post-secondary education, whether it's TCAT or whether it's beauty school or whether it's college. There's too much free money out there. I would love to be able to see us have a goal in which we make that transition smoother. I deal with students coming into the campus every day, and they're scared. It's a big area because they lack that, hey, let's take this visit. Let's make this opportunity for you. Let's look at dual enrollment. Let's look at dual credit so that students have that leg up. And so that when they transition to either post-secondary, as into a college, or to the TCAT, they have a leg up in that game. They have that experience, and it's a smooth transition.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Brock.
Just changing the question slightly, it would be in reference to question number 3 on the list, if you need that. What do you see as the one single greatest challenge faced by our school district? And then how would you meet that challenge?
So you limited me to one, Mr. Brock. Well, that's okay.
Okay, you have my blessings too.
I know. I figured, you always challenge me in school, so it's okay. Staffing. Staffing is an issue, not only for teachers, cooks, bus drivers. We're trying to come out of a pandemic, and people are afraid. We have to ensure our teachers, to keep our teachers, we have to maintain those. But we also have to provide a public, I guess you could say, a public campaign to where we're promoting our district. Come to work for Cumberland County, and here's why. Here's the reasons why. We have great benefits, we have great principals, we have great teaching environment, or come and drive a bus, or work in our cafeteria. I think that's one thing, is we're going to have to do a very particular and meticulous job recruitment type situation to solve that problem.
Very good, thank you.
Question number 18. How important is an organization chart for director of schools, and will you have immediate recommendations for changes?
An organizational chart is designed to show lines of authority in an organization. I personally feel an organization chart is very important. I will be honest, I looked on the website and could not find the organizational chart for Cumberland County Schools, which I was shocked. Because we always had one when I was working. So I feel like an organizational chart allows not only teachers, the board, but the community members, they know who to contact. For example, if I have a question over school lunches, I know that I can start at my cafeteria level. If I don't like what the cafeteria manager said, I'm going to go see Kathy Hamby at the central office. that helps people understand who to go to deal with what problems. As far as recommending change, Mr. King, I learned a very valuable lesson as a principal one time. I went in gung-ho, I was changing the world. But you know, I feel like it's more important that I sit down and talk and get input from our district staff and stakeholders. Prior to taking term as a director, if you all see fit, I would like to meet with our principals individually. I would like to meet with our central office staff. I'd like to meet with the teachers. And I'd even like to open it up for the community to come and talk to me. I'd like to hear what they have to say. So I could say no, I don't have any recommendations, but it is something that I will definitely consider when I gather some evidence and information.
Okay, thank you.
How are you today?
I'm good, Miss Amy. How are you?
I'm good. My first question is going to be number 11. What are your strategies for ensuring equal opportunities for all students in Cumberland County Schools?
I think the first strategy is that as a director and a board, we have to ensure that we are providing our students with effective, high-quality teachers. And to go even further with that, I think we have to look at high-quality instructional materials. We have to ensure that what we're providing our teachers helps them meet those standards that they are required to meet. I think another key aspect, and I know that we have some on, is pacing guides and curriculum guides, so that if student A moves from north and goes to south, we have an alignment so that if they leave on Monday at north and they come Tuesday to south, there's not a gap there. So that's equal opportunity. And I feel like those are the concepts that we need to really focus on, is that student-centered.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm good, Ms. Tree.
First question is number 7. Describe and explain your leadership style and how you believe it can be benefit to our district.
So I consider myself what I call a transformational servant leader. Leadership to me is about the people and serving the people. As a teacher in the classroom, it was about my students and meeting their needs. As a principal, it's about my teachers and meeting their needs. As a dean, it's about preparing teachers to meet our students' needs. So I feel like that's the servant aspect of me. It's my heart. And I tell my teacher candidates, if it's not in your heart, you don't belong in this career. I've also been the type that I like to look at what we're doing good and let's make it better. And then when we make it better, let's make it best. So in my office is a little sign, good, better, and best. Do good till you can do better, but always strive to do your best. And so that's how I feel like I'm a transformational leader. I want us to take what we're doing great, and there's some great things going on here in this district, and I want us to make it better, and then I want us to get to where it's our best.
Mr. Safety, your second question.
Well, thank you. This is number 13 on the...
Y'all don't have to give me the numbers. I can't tell you what number they are, so it's fine.
Very, very well.
Okay.
What experience do you have in fiscal operations that would aid you in developing and proposing a district budget? And as a corollary to that, what do you know about the BEP?
And the BEP? Okay. As a principal, I always had to create school and federal budgets to turn into central office every year. So that allowed me to align my expenditures. As a dean, well, that was a big role. I have to create a budget for our School of Education. I have to look at operating costs, faculty, supplies, travel, things that I didn't really have to focus that hard as a school principal. I now have to give quarterly budget reports. So I'm constantly in my budget ensuring I'm not overspending. I'm proud to say that I saved $30,000 last year in my budget because I'm very thrifty with money, especially if it's somebody else's money. But the BEP, So we all know the governor is coming out with a new funding formula. I like the funding formula for the fact that it's student focused. However, I have some concerns. I really have concerns about the weighted aspects of that formula. We are looking at growth, student growth. Student growth is very important. We have to ensure that our students are growing. So as a district, we are going to have to ensure that we are meeting that section of that weighted formula. So I think I saw that Cumberland County was going to get an increase of about $9 million, closely $9 million. So the BEP formula is not as fair, in my opinion, as what's coming down the block. And I think the new formula gives teachers, boards, and districts the ability to achieve in areas that they've not achieved in before, and put some dollar signs to that.
Yeah, that $9 million is only for the first year.
Yes, yes, it is. It is. And that's the other concern is I really wonder how in the long term, it's a great concept, but I think maintaining that is going to be the interesting aspect of that.
Thank you.
Ms. Paris?
I really lose her talk. Anyway, describe what an ideal Board of Education would do to assist you with those goals.
So to assist me in achieving my goals, I think it's important that, first off, I keep an open line of communication letting you know what we need or what our district needs. I also feel like it's the board's part of their responsibility is to work with me and the district or the central office staff to ensure that you all have the information you need so that when we're adopting materials, that you know exactly this has been reviewed, this is going to meet the standards, here's what it looks like, so that you can make those good decisions. I also feel like it's going to take a budget to create that student-centered environment. So I think it's important that we look at our budget and fight for what we need if we need to at times. I feel like policies, that you are ensuring safety, that you're ensuring that we're dealing with students' social and emotional health. I think those are also ways the board can help me assist. And I think creating partnerships. We're just one district in a county, and there are so many resources in this county that we need to utilize to work to help our students. As a dean, I've had the privilege of partnering with various districts and seeing how different businesses partner with that district or different agencies. So I really and truthfully feel like we need to create some partnerships with area clubs, funding, churches that can help supply things that we might not be able to. I also feel like, lastly, I wrote lots of grants as a teacher. And I think we need to reach out and strive to apply for as many grants as possible. That's another alternative funding source that we can have access to that can go. For example, when I was at North and Crab Orchard both, we had the Dollar General grant. That in the 21st Century grant allowed 2 days from tutoring to tutor. The Dollar General grant added 2 more days. It also funded our family reading nights. Things that is important that we get our students and our community involved. So that's another aspect that I think the board is approving those grants and helping us search for those grants.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Hill?
My second question was number 15. How would you go about determining the current needs and concerns of the district's teachers and non-certified staff?
And Ms. Hill, that goes back to the needs assessment. I think it's important that teachers have an input into the decision-making process. I also feel it's very important that I be a visible director. I don't want to sit behind a desk if I don't have to. I want to be out in the schools. I want to roll my sleeves up. I love to read to children. It's one of my favorite pastimes. You know, I'm not above, if we're in another pandemic, of stepping out of my office and filling in for a teacher if I need to. I want to be that type of director that if I'm in your building, or if I'm in Homestead, or if I'm in Crab Orchard, and I'm walking down the hall, if a teacher needs to talk to me and say, "You got 5 minutes, I'd like to talk to you." Absolutely. They need to know that I'm personable. And most everybody that knows me, I'm a very people person. I like to talk to people. So I feel like it's important. But the needs assessment is a start. And the advisory council is a start for them to be able to express what their concerns are to me.
Thank you.
My next question is, how would you define the term open door policy, and would you have one?
As I read this, I had to think, and I had to giggle a little bit. So at Crab Orchard, I will go back and tell you, when I was in the old system, I had 2 doors on each side of my office. And I kept them open. I'm not one to stay shut up in a room. But so teachers came in and out, so I'd say I had an open door policy. But an open door policy is open communication. I'm just one person in this office, or in this district. I don't know what's going on at Crab Orchard or Pleasant Hill. I have to be out there to know that. So I feel like open door policy will allow people to come in. I want to allow people to come in. I want them to feel welcome to come to me. Absolutely. Express your concerns. And I realize as a director that sometimes I may need to let someone else talk to an angry parent because I'm in a meeting. But I also want whoever they talk to come to me and say, "Hey, Mr. Smith has an issue today, and here's what we talked about." And then I'll be the judge to say, "Hey, I may need to call that parent or that person and talk to them." But yes, I would hope, and I know this is a cold building, that when you come to this building, that if I'm in that director's office, it's open, and you're welcome to step in. Whether you're the janitor, the dog catcher, or chairman of the board.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Brock?
State government and special interest groups.
Yes. You say, how did I know that would come from a history teacher?
Special this one.
That's right.
They've demanded a greater voice in how local school districts conduct everything from curriculum to
Absolutely.
any level of education. How do you plan to meet those people and their demands?
So, state government, hands down, state mandated. There's not a lot we can do except follow those. I can remember when RTI was handed down. It was unfunded, and it says, "You're going to do this." So as director, I have to ensure that we are following those mandates. You know, the state is a funding body for us. They can pull funding if we don't follow that. Now, as a district, can we write letters to maybe have people look at those mandates? Absolutely. And I will support that. Special interest groups. So I tried to think about special interest groups in a broad approach. Special interest groups are often, especially in the education, are advocates for children. They're advocating for a child's right. They're wanting something for that child. I think it's key that when we look at special interest groups, we have to make sure that if we're going to meet or to discuss something, it's okay to listen. But if we're going to act upon something they're wanting us to do, that it is in line with our mission and vision and policies. Because if not, it's going to look like we are promoting that special interest group, when really we should kind of be in a neutral term. I think the key there when you're dealing with special interest groups is, yes, they need an ear. We need to listen. But we also need to make sure that before we act on anything they're asking us to do, that they are in line with what we believe as a school board and what we believe as teachers and as participants in this district.
Thank you.
question is on how do you feel about grade retention? That is, the repeating of grades or classes, how it impacts student success.
So, Mr. King, I've had to deal with grade retention. And I can see grade retention having a positive and a negative effect on a student. And I think it really boils down for grade retention, the age of the child. It is hard for a first grader or a kindergartner or second grader to leave those grades without those solid foundation skills. I can remember sitting in the meeting with a teacher and a parent, and that's key. It's not a decision that is made by one person. I think that decision needs to be made by the parent, by the teacher, and by the administrator of that building. But I can see grade retention in K2 a little more valuable than in grades 3 through 12. And here's why. Because in grades 3 through 12, we need to really look at the real issue. Is it attendance? Are they not completing assignments? Is there some social emotional issue that we need to help that child with? And also at that, especially 4th, 5th, 6th, that really has a social stigma sometimes. So before I would hold a student there, you really have to prove to me that it's not something that we can't increase upon or improve on the next grade level.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
How can we better accommodate district parents suffering from economic disadvantage and or disabilities?
I think, Ms. Hamby, that goes back to our partnerships with agencies. We do a great job at the school level of ensuring that our students have what they need, especially when you're talking about school supplies and clothing. At all my schools, we always had a clothes closet. We always had a school supply closet. We had backpacks that, when a new student came, or if we saw that Johnny didn't have the supplies, we would go get that, no questions asked. Somebody didn't have socks on that day, we'd go get them socks. We've also done a great job in ensuring that if we notice students that have the same clothes every day, providing that opportunity and the opportunity to take a bath. But I think as a district, we need to look at partnering with those local agencies that can assist these parents that need help economically or with students with disabilities, so that as a principal, they can kind of hand them something and say, you need to go talk to this person. They can help you. Or as a district, we can create a brochure that says, here's some services that we offer our parents. I have a pipe dream when it comes to that, and I'll share that. I think it would be really neat. And I think of the Good Samaritans and some of these other thrift stores of partnering with them to create what we call a school supply depot. And there's two aspects to that. There's a teacher side and there's a student side. The school supply depot for the teacher side provides them with supplies that have been donated, paper clips, so that they don't have to pull it out of their pocket. You know as well as I do, we get a tax deduction of $200, $500 maybe. We spend way more than that every year. Also on the child side, so we give out vouchers a lot of times for students to go get clothes. What if we had a place where they could come and shop, get their students their clothes, their school supplies, and come? And so creating those partnerships with those people in districts and churches could help us supply both of those. So that's my pipe dream. That's me. That's what I would love to see happen in this district.
Thank you.
Number 27, what do you believe to be the role of the Board of Education in district leadership as compared to that as the director of schools?
So the role of the Board of Education as compared to my role is to ensure that I am doing my job and that we are operating this district under state and federal guidelines. It's also important that the board ensure that we are providing all students a quality education, that we are creating policies and passing funding that is centered around what our students' needs or what this district needs. It's not a you sit there and I sit here type relationship or role. It's a team, and we have to be that team. Because I'm just one person, you are 9, and then we have all kinds of principals and teachers and staff that need input in this. So I feel like your role is to help run our district and be involved in our district, especially in the aspect of making sure that, hey, we're spending our funds correctly and we're providing the materials that these teachers need.
I'm gonna elaborate.
That's fine, go ahead.
So in your, with what you have just kind of explained to us, you believe that the Board of Education would need the information on
Absolutely.
financial,
Absolutely.
where we're spending our money.
Absolutely.
This is why I propose that.
Absolutely. I think it's just like me giving a quarterly budget report at the college. I think there has to be checks and balances in place before money is spent. Not because I want a brand new car, am I going to go buy a brand new car? I've got to make sure I have those funds. And then I also have to go ask my husband. You know, and the same thing with the school board. I think it's important that if we're going to apply for a grant, a lot of times I know there's deadlines, but I think we should always provide that information to you through an email. It's easy to send out, hey, board members, North Cumberland is applying for this Dollar General grant. We want you to see what we're asking for, what we're looking for, and then we want to discuss it at the board meeting. I agree. You need to know what those expenditures are, and you need to have some say in that. Because it's your responsibility to manage that, make sure we're spending it correctly.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Safety.
How would, there's 2 parts to this question, but I'm going to eliminate one of them. Because my focus is on reading and reading in K through 3. So how would we improve reading competency and levels in our district when one, our teachers and our principals are doing an outstanding job,
Absolutely.
and 2, we're following state guidelines and using state resources, and 3, historically, we have 70% of our students, approximately 70% of our students, that are not completing the 3rd grade with reading competency. So what innovations would you make to see improvements in that area?
So, Mr. Safety, I think we are doing a great job statewide on K through 3 reading. We are putting the tools our teachers need in their hands to look at that reading and just, I would say it's been I have a reading background. I have a master's in reading, and so we're looking at changing from teaching, I can remember letter people and letter sounds, but we're teaching sounds first. That's a total different way than what I was trained to teach reading. Mm-hmm. So I think the state has a great opportunity and has provided us with great resources. I think it's key that we train our teachers and keep training our teachers to utilize those resources and how to use those resources. One thing that I find that's very important, we have instructional coaches here. That's great. I think those coaches need to be out in our buildings and ensuring, not as a threat to say, oh, the coach is coming to my class today, I'm scared to death, but as a help. But I also think we need to partner with places like NEIT, TNTP, and SCORE. SCORE is absolutely amazing because they are on the cutting edge before reading came down the instruction. There, for example, I'll use Loudoun County, who we partner with. They had access to CKLA for 3 years prior to it becoming, because they were in a SCORE initiative doing that. They were seeing the results. They were piloting it. So I think we're going to have to make sure that we are working with coaches. Lastly, Mr. Safdie, I feel like we're on the right track. And I really truly believe that our teachers are doing a great job. I think we're going to see every year that 70% decrease because we are working to ensure that those students have those skills. It's just going to take, it's just like any type of data. You have to start somewhere and then you have to watch it over a time to see how it improves. And it's not going to improve overnight. It's like losing weight. I want to lose 10 pounds, but it's not going to happen tomorrow. I've got to do something. So I think we're doing a great job right now. And I really feel like we're just going to have to build upon that. We're going to keep on having to supply that training, supply that coaching, and keep moving forward.
Thank you.
Ms. Pierce?
One last question from me.
Just one, Ms. Shirley?
Yeah. How seriously should our school district take bullying, and what can we do better?
1 out of every 5 students, 1 out of every 5 is bullied every day. We need to ensure that we are educating our teachers, our students, our parents, and the community on bullying. Education is key to stopping anything. So we have to be able to make sure that teachers understand bullying, students understand bullying, parents understand bullying. And we have to provide that education. I was looking at the code of conduct before doing this because I was trying to familiarize myself with the bullying policy. I can remember as a principal, we had a bullying policy. Mm-hmm. But I noticed on that code of conduct, bullying is listed at all 4 levels. We need to really hone in and create a level 1 offense is this, and this is what it looks like, and this is the punishment that goes with that. A level 4 offense, this is what it looks like, and this is the punishment that goes with that. I feel like that would cut out a lot of the misconceptions of bullying. I truly feel like also, Ms. Shirley, that we have to teach our kids kindness, and we have to do it in a culture where they understand kindness and empathy for each other. I will say this. I've had the fortunate opportunity to visit several districts as a dean. And I've seen some great anti-bullying things. There's bully-free zones in buildings. There are buddy benches. I had to be educated on a buddy bench one day. I was sitting on it, and one of the little girls came to me and asked me, said, "Are you having a bad day? Do you need a friend?" And I was like, "Yes, I am. Can we talk?" So, and I also feel like, too, as teachers, we get so caught up in teaching our standards, because that's where we're driving, because that's the most important. But having a morning meeting once a week with your homeroom class to talk about what's bothering you or to listen to what's on a student's mind, and it doesn't have to be a public, but to teaching that kindness. It also goes back to ensuring that we are educating our students on differentiation or differences. Because a lot of times, differences are the reason that bullying occurs. You're different from me and I don't like it. We have to teach children how to be comfortable with that. So I think education is the key to that process and strengthening our bullying policy and our behaviors.
Mr. Hammond, I'm going to follow up.
Yes, ma'am.
Along those same lines, do you believe that teachers or other staff, parents, are also guilty of bullying students or other adults?
Yes. And I will say that, Becky, yes, they are. And it's a shame. I think back on my high school career. I think back on students. I've been guilty of bullying. And then I really didn't think it was bullying. But I look back and I think, you could have handled that a lot different. I was raised that no matter what anybody looked like, they were the same as me. And I was never better than anybody else. We were all on an equal playing field. But sometimes, occasionally, I'd get a little bigger than my britches would allow. And I would think I was better than somebody else, and I would make somebody else feel bad. So absolutely, I think adults need to be aware of their actions. And I agree, educating, that's one reason we need to educate, because we all need to know what that is. And as parents, and having a son, I watched him go through some of that. And so, yes, I agree, we all need that education.
Thank you.
My third question, question number 20, how important should career and technical education be in our school district, and what impact should CTE have on graduation readiness in our district?
So I'm very happy to say I have a son who completed the CTE program at Stone Memorial and is now a mechanical engineer in Clarksville, Tennessee, works for Hankook Tire. Bought his first house. Bought a 4-bedroom house for him. It's a side joke. But that CTE opportunity in high school put a spark in him. Mm-hmm. It helped him to see, this is the career path I want to take. It's not something that he went in lightly. He knew from the time he went into college, I'm going to be an engineer. Why? Because Mr. Tatum's engineering class sparked that interest. CTE provides not only academic and technical skills, but it allows them to take those academic and technical skills and apply it to real-world issues or real-world problems. I would love to see us, and this goes back to increasing post-secondary, I would love to see us offer what we call dual credit or dual enrollment in these CTE clusters. Not every student can take dual English or dual math, but there is the ability as a system for us to take teaching as a profession as dual enrollment, and guess what? They knock out the intro to teaching when they go to any college. Even going into the TCAT route. If they can start as a junior or senior, going to the technology school and earning credit, by the time they graduate, hey, they've got nearly almost all of that career done. So they don't have to go as long, and they can be more out in the workforce. Because I will tell you, that's the first, probably second question I get asked when I meet with a student. So how long is this going to take me? How quick can I get into the job force? And so CTE allows us to not only push students into that post-secondary track, but can also provide them with the skill that they need, that they could actually use when they get out of high school.
Thank you.
My third question is, explain your experience with the knowledge of RTI squared initiatives and provide your opinion as to how well they work in our district.
I was an RTI teacher when your wife was an RTI teacher many years ago. We worked together. She and I had many phone calls. And at that time, RTI was designed for interventions for students who were performing below or at risk on our benchmarks. Mm-hmm. RTI Squared has opened the door to creating RTI plans for attendance, for behavior, for enrichment, for moving our kids that are higher. I feel like our district does a great job with RTI, or they did when I was here. I feel like it goes back to that, we do good, let's do better, and let's make it our best. So I think RTI has a place and is needed. It's cut down on the number of students referred to special education, which helps them graduate with a regular diploma. It also provides some modifications within the classroom that also helps them become and earn their grades and their courses for the assignments they're making. So yes, RTI is great, and I guess we need to continue it, and I support it.
All right, thank you.
Michelle, you've touched on it several times about surrounding yourself with good people. Where do we and how do we recruit these people, and then how do we keep them once we get them?
So recruiting. When I stepped into the shoes of a dean, recruiting became a word for me. How do I recruit students to come to my college? How do I get students to come? As a district, I think it's important that we look at some of these grow your own initiatives that are out there. And when I say grow your own, and I'll explain that, we have some outstanding teaching assistants in our building that are teaching our students and making a teaching assistant salary. A Grow Your Own initiative partners with a higher ed institution, whether they start at Rome State and then move to Tech, or they start at Pellissippi and go wherever. But it helps them, it gives our teachers have the ability to keep a job while they're going through this process and end up with a degree at the end. So that's one way to recruit, is to look at doing a Grow Your Own. I think it's important that we attend college and career fairs, and not just for education. I think of a chemistry teacher who was a chemist, who had children and thought, I don't want to be in a lab all day long. I want to be with my students. She went to a career fair, and just by happen, a school district had set up something. And she said, so tell me about teaching. And she's a chemistry teacher today because somebody was at that fair. I think we also have to promote ourselves. We have to promote what a great system this is. And lastly, I think it's important that we start at home. Let's start with our juniors and seniors. And let's talk about the jobs that we have to offer in this school system and say, hey, you know, when you get finished with your college or your certificate, we'll give you a job. Come back and work for us. So recruiting, it's a broad aspect. Maintaining. I would love to see our district reward teachers for milestones. And I'm not just saying a little box that says, congratulations, you made it 5 years. I would love for us to look at what we call longevity and longevity pay. At 5 years, if it's $500, hey, that's great. And that's just small, I know. But at 10 years, $1,000? It would be nice to do like the state of Tennessee. They get $1,000 for every year they're there. That can be a lot sometimes. To a certain point. I think they cut it off at so many years. But I think we need to show that our teachers are valued. I think it's also key, Mr. Brock, that we provide our teachers with what they need. If I'm a teacher and I'm working in this district and I go visit a neighboring district and they have all this great technology and all the supplies that they need, and I'm sitting here in Crossville and I don't have that, I might move because they're providing what I need. On a smaller scale, incentives. I think as a central office and as a director, offering little incentives to our teachers. I know a Jean Day doesn't mean much, but sometimes it does. I know a day of, hey, 15 minutes off extra today. You know, instead of staying until 3:15, you can leave at 3 today. Those things are important. But I really feel like if we're going to really maintain our teachers, we're going to have to ensure that we are doing things that make them want to stay. And nothing speaks more than the pocketbook, to be honest.
Just a quick follow-up, Michelle, had some wonderful ideas. What about for our non-certified? Again, I hate that term.
And I agree. I think we need to reward all employees the same way. I think we really need to. When I had a teaching assistant when I first started teaching 30 years ago, I never thought I would say that number, but they were the grading papers, putting up bulletin boards. They've moved from that. Our teachers' assistants, our bus drivers, they are more valuable than, I will tell you, I respect the bus driver and do not want their job. I can handle a class of 25 kids in front of me, but you put me behind the wheel driving a bus? No, because I'd be a nervous wreck for one. I'm already a nervous wreck when I drive. I'm a defensive driver, as my husband tells me. But yes, they need those rewards also. And I think looking at their longevity, a lot of these teachers and non-certifieds are working for insurance. We might need to look at making that a little better. Good. But so that, yes, everyone deserves that. Whether it's teachers or whether it's the janitors or the cooks or non-certified.
Thank you.
We're at 51.
Okay.
I've been long-winded. I'm very sorry.
No,
I'm
you're
very
fine.
passionate about it.
Just wanted to make sure we're staying in place. The next two questions that I have, you've already answered. In question 4 about student-centered approach, one of your 3 goals, and your communication style. So, yield my time to the next questioner.
Okay. We've got time for maybe for you two to do a question, and then we'll have to wrap it up.
Will you require district staff to respect members of the board with the questions they may have and requests for information?
I will require my district staff to respect the position of the Board of Education and the hold. And I will ensure that you, as board members, get the information and the answers to the questions you want. So yes, I will ensure that we all deserve respect. We expect our students to respect us, but we also have to give us respect in this term. So yes.
Thank you.
How do you approach difficult decisions?
Very methodically. I do a pros and cons list. I look at if I make this decision, what's the repercussion of this decision? Sometimes I seek input if I need to, because I don't know everything, so I may need to go to outside source. I do research. But the biggest thing is I always look at the head versus the heart aspect of a decision making and where that's going to take me and what's the consequences of that decision that I make and how is it going to affect. Is it going to affect students positively, which should be my number one if it's a decision with students. If it's personnel, you also look at how does that affect the students. So I do it very methodically. It's a pros and cons list. I will tell you, leaving Cumberland County was one of the hardest decisions I ever made to step up into a different realm, but it also grew me as a person. So yes, it's not something that, I'm not a knee-jerk decision maker.
Thank you.
Mr. King, where are we at on time?
Right at 55.
Okay, that works out great. You've got 5 minutes to wrap up with any ideas that you want to give us that we've not covered, or ask us any questions you'd like.
I am a product of the Cumberland County school system. And the opportunities that this school system gave me has allowed me to be a teacher, has allowed me to be a principal, and is now allowing me to sit in a dean of a school of education. I've been able to look through various lenses in the education department. I've worked closely with the State Department as a dean. I've worked closely with teachers as a principal. So I feel like I have a very well-rounded approach to a director's job. If appointed as director, I assure you, students will come first, and every decision that I make is about those students and about what's best for those students. I want to ensure that teachers have what they need to do their jobs. As a director, that is my responsibility to ensure that I am giving those teachers everything they need. As as a leader, I've always looked at leadership with this to say, I have the ability as a leader to change someone's life every day. And I take that very serious. As a teacher, I had the opportunity to change students' lives. As a principal, I had the opportunity to change students' and teachers' lives. As a dean, I have the opportunity to impact the future teacher that is coming into the classroom. So I take leaderships very seriously. I take education very seriously. My father was always my push behind me. You're going to school, you're going to college. And it's all that I do now when I see a student. You're going to college, you're going to school. Poor Sam England, bless his heart. He had no hope. So I want to push our students to go beyond high school, to find their niche in life. And it's just all about how we go about creating that student-centered culture. And that is my goal as director. I want a student-centered culture where everything we do focuses on our students. I thank you all for this opportunity. I may have moved, but I'm here every weekend. Cumberland County is always my home and will always be my home. And I'm very proud of this district. As I go to visit from different districts, I always compare it to home. Have I seen some great things? Absolutely. But we are doing great things here too. That guess what? I share with that district to say, well, you know, in Crossville, we did this. And they listen. I was very fortunate to work with Loudoun County on their ESSER funds. I worked with them doing their needs assessment, planning their spending. So I had a great opportunity. So I was on the ground up watching that go through the process. So it was an opportunity that I take. And like I said, this is my heart. And each of you that know me and watch me grow in this system, not to say that anybody's old enough to do that, knows that I love this school system and I love this district. I love this county. And I want to be out promoting what we're doing great to the public and to the state. I want to hang a reward district banner in this building. And we have teachers that can help me do that. We have principals that can help me do that. We have non-cert bus drivers and cafeteria that can help me do that. That is one of the biggest goals that I have, is I want to hang a reward district banner in this office. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Once again, thank you for being here. We appreciate you coming. And while I've got the microphone, I've got to say a thank you to a few other people. We need to be sure and thank Diane McCartney for providing the food.